All right, well, we seem to have been really successful in the startup landscape, and it just seems to be ramping up. How do we stay at a competitive level when people in America are coming out of the Harvards, the MITs, they really have the resources there to just kind of propel forward? How do we stay relevant?
Good question. What's tricky for these guys to compete against with us is that there's a lot of domain IP, intellectual property expertise that's specific only to African problems. I think locally we've got a far better handle on African problems than overseas, and if we can focus initially on establishing Africa as our beachhead entry market and then expand from there, that's quite a nice barrier to entry. Secondly, there's a proliferation of best practices globally. You've got people like Stanford exposing best practices on the web. Y Combinator is doing some really good stuff, providing 30% of their content online, and there's guys like Eric Rees, Steve Blank are doing really good things with customer development best practices. We make use of customer advisory panels. We leverage off marketing engines that are available here. We've been hell of a lucky to have a local advertising agency, Comstrat Band, Workbench, assisting us on packaging the application. And there's some really good support, I think, from local people here. Because I think that's quite uniquely South African, is that it's very much based on relationships, and there's some good local people looking to help and assist that we can call on.
Now, Henk, as a newbie on the scene, what's your view on how the scene is going to progress in South Africa?
It will definitely depend on our tertiary education system, getting the engineers of the future to think like entrepreneurs. We need more of the entrepreneurs that's in the market like Will to reach out, to get systems in place where we can get those forums going, where you get those guys supported, leveraging of those relationships. It's still a bit of a pity that every time we need to get some guidance, you run to the US, see what they've done. Yeah. I mean, you just mentioned the examples there, where it's still happening too much, but I can definitely see things changing. Just in the last year, how people are starting to make a name for themselves, local guys, whether it's a UX of an Apple iPhone app, or if it's big B2B stuff. There's definitely some nice things happening, but it's very early days. But it's great to be part of those early days. Yeah, make it happen.
Are we at a disadvantage as a developing country?
Probably the only thing is our lack of fast internet. But apart from that, I don't think so. I think it's the developing country thing that makes us work really hard and want to make it work and succeed. But
my contribution would be probably access to good funding, established funding models, pretty generic, standardized equity funding models.
Mm-hmm. Now, we know that you've gotten Will here into birding. What's next for you guys? Are you working on any other startups we can expect in the near future?
What does Steve Jobs say about focus? Look, I mean, there's components of Birdlasser that are synergistic with Gmaven, the thing that I'm mainly involved in that pays the bills. Mm-hmm. But I think you can be jack of all trades, master of none. Birdlasser, there's going to be a very strong focus on just bridging that gap between conservation, the civil scientists and interested consumers out there, and technology. And I think that's going to be a big challenge going forward. We see there are wonderful opportunities to help in that space, and we'd love to just continue focusing on nature and conservation, first in South Africa, first in Africa, and then hopefully looking to push that globally.